Hi everyone, I welcome you all to yet another biology class conducted by Manorama Horizon. I am Shajabin. Today we will be covering the chapter Our Environment. So let's start with the chapter. Now what can you infer from this image? It's a pond, right? Here you can see that there are living organisms like ducks, animals, many other animals, plants, as well as you can see that there are non-living components like soil, water, etc. So, what can we call for such a place? What can we call this? This is known as an ecosystem. Ecosystem is an area where a group of organisms interact with each other as well as with their environment. As you have seen earlier, a pond had group of organisms, both plants, animals as well as many microorganisms. Along with that, they were interacting with the abiotic components such as water, soil, air, etc. So, an ecosystem is also an area where a group of organisms interact with each other and with their environment. Now, if we see, this ecosystem has two components, two basic components. The first component is biotic component and the second component is abiotic component. Now, so students, what are biotic components? Biotic components are components that contain living organisms. Living organisms include plants, animals and microorganisms. And abiotic components includes air, water, soil, okay, all non-living components. We call it as abiotic components. By the name itself you can understand, bio means life. So here biotic components are all living components and abiotic components are non-living components. Now, we will see the categories of biotic components. Biotic components are divided into producers, consumers and decomposers. Biotic components are divided into three groups. One is producers, the other one is consumers and the third group is decomposers. Now coming to producers, producers contains only green plants because they are the producers, they produce the food that is required by all other organisms. So producers are the green plants or the photosynthetic organisms. Photosynthetic organisms we call it as producers, okay. Producers, after producers, whatever produce they do, it is consumed by them as well as the consumers and decomposers. So next biotic component is consumer. Now if you see consumers, we divide consumers again into four categories. So these four categories are herbivores. The first category include herbivores. So herbivores, do you know what are herbivores? I think you have studied in your lower grades what are herbivores, right? So just commented what are herbivores? Yes, herbivores are organisms that feed directly on producers. Herbivores are organisms that feed directly on producers. Then we have carnivores. So carnivores are organisms that feed on herbivores and they indirectly feed on producers because they are feeding herbivores who get nutrients from producers. Then we have the next category, we have omnivores. Now what are omnivores? We know herbivores, we have understood what are herbivores, we understood what are carnivores and what are omnivores. Omnivores are organisms that feed on producers as well as on consumers, okay, like humans are mostly omnivores except the vegetarians or the vegans, we call all humans as omnivores, okay. Then we have parasites. Now parasites are a special group. Here they live on a host, they live on producers or consumers, and they consume, they obtain their energy or they obtain their nutrient from these organisms living on them. So, they are parasites. So, these are the 4 categories of consumers. And the last biological component is decomposer. Decomposers are found in, usually it is found in our environment. You will be finding them in the soil very commonly. They are the one who feeds on the remains of producers and consumers. On organic matter, they feed on organic matter and they convert it into inorganic matters. Okay, so they are decomposers. So, producers are the one who take in inorganic matter and convert it into organic matter. Consumers are the one who consumes the organic matter produced by the producers, and decomposers are the one who decomposes the organic matter into inorganic matter. Now, as I told you that here you have seen between producer, consumer and decomposer, there is a interaction in their food. Okay. Now, we will be studying about food chain. What is a food chain? Food chain is a linear interaction. Okay. It is a linear interaction of producers and consumers. Okay. It is a linear interaction. So, here you will be seeing that one organism is being consumed by the other organism. One organism is being consumed by the other organism, and why they are being consumed? To obtain energy. They are being consumed to obtain energy. So, here a food chain is a linear interaction of food. Okay, how to obtain energy? They are interacting linearly. So, this is very common in nature, the linear interaction where we see producer and consumers is a food chain. But if you see naturally in nature, food chain is not that very natural. Okay, in theory we learn food chain, but in nature it is not so common. Why? Can you just guess why it is not so common? Yes, because the mouse will not always prefer to eat corn, right? The mouse will not always prefer to eat corn. The mouse may roam here and there. It can go into a wheat field, a paddy field and consume wheat, paddy, any such things, whatever is available in the environment. Similarly, the snake will not always consume a mouse. Okay, the snake can consume a frog or a mouse or a rabbit. Okay, whatever is available in the immediate environment. So, food chain is a linear interaction. But in nature, in reality, we find more commonly food web. So, food web is a network of food chain. Okay, it is a network of different food chain. We call it as food web. You can see here, grass can be eaten by a grasshopper, it can be eaten by a mouse, or it can be eaten by a rabbit. Many other organisms, bees can also consume grass. Similarly, grasshoppers can be eaten by frog, they can be eaten by birds, they can be eaten by some other organism. Okay. So, here this network, that is a complex network of food chain which exists in reality, is known as a food web. Now, why do organisms require food? Why do organisms require food? Just guess why an organism require food? Yes, to obtain energy. Now, energy is, the ultimate source of energy is sun. So, the producers are the one who gets the ultimate energy and they get it from the sun. So, first we will be learning about the different trophic levels. You can see we categorize this food chain into different trophic levels. Okay. So, at the first level, this is in a shape of a pyramid. We categorize it in a shape of a pyramid. Now, the base of the pyramid is the largest one, okay, and the tip is the smallest. We know the shape of a pyramid, right? The shape of a pyramid where the base is the large portion. So, the base is always occupied by a producer. A producer always occupies the base of the pyramid, and we call it as a first trophic level. So, the first trophic level is always occupied by producer. In any food chain, whether it is a terrestrial food chain or an aquatic food chain, the base is always occupied by a producer. Now, coming to the second order is herbivores, okay, is occupied by herbivores because they are the one who consumes the producers. So, they occupy the second level in the trophic levels. So, second level we call it them as primary consumers, or you can call it them as second trophic level or primary consumers, okay. They are always herbivores. These primary consumers are always herbivores. Now, next come the third trophic level. The third trophic level is occupied by the secondary consumers. Those are carnivores. Carnivores occupy the third trophic level. And the fourth trophic level are high level consumers, that are tertiary consumer. Usually in nature, a trophic level ends in 3 level or it goes into 4 level. It won't exceed more than 4 level. Why? We'll learn it ahead, okay. So, I hope you have understood who occupies the first trophic level and who are at the top of the trophic levels, okay. So, now let us move on. Why the trophic level never exit after 4 trophic levels, okay. That is because of the flow of energy. So, here what happens, as I told you, that producers are the one who receives the energy from the ultimate source, that is sun. So, here the ultimate source is sun. Now, whatever amount of solar radiation falls on the earth, only 1% of that radiation is absorbed by the producers. So, producers means the photosynthetic organism, the plants, okay. So, only 1% of the solar energy is absorbed by the plants. Now, in this 1%, for most of their activities, metabolic activities, they require 90% of the energy. So, whatever 1% of energy they have obtained, in that 90% of the energy is required by them, okay. So, only 10% of the energy they transfer it to the second trophic level. So, just imagine that they have obtained some 10,000 joules of energy, okay. They have obtained 10,000 joules of energy. Now, in this 10,000 joules of energy, they will consume 90% of the energy and only 10% of the energy will be transferred to the next trophic level. So, if it is 10,000 joule the plants are receiving, what will be the amount of energy transferred to the second trophic level? Yes, it will be 10%, that is 1000 joule, okay. 1000 joule will be transferred to the second trophic level. So, similarly, the second trophic level also consumes 90% of the energy for all the daily metabolic activities and only 10% again is transferred to the third trophic level. So, the third trophic level will get only 100 joule of energy. Now, coming to the fourth trophic level, they will get only 10 joule of energy. So, the energy is drastically decreasing from one trophic level to another trophic level. Hence, this trophic level stops at the highest 4 trophic level, the food chain stops, okay, because the energy keep on decreasing. Now, one thing you can see, when these organisms die, they are just consumed by the decomposers, okay. Decomposers act upon them and then their organic matter will be changed into inorganic matter. What happens here is, the energy that is coming from the sun is not going back to the sun. Whatever energy is coming from the sun is not going back to the sun, okay. It is being means it goes into the decomposers and then the energy just get converted into some other form. It won't reaches the sun. Hence, we call that energy is unidirectional. The flow of energy, the energy flow is unidirectional, okay. So, mostly if you read about different nitrogen cycle or carbon cycle, okay, all this biogeocycles, you will be finding that they are all covering, okay, its whole cycle covers. From where they start, they complete the whole cycle. But here in case of energy flow, it is not like that. It is unidirectional because the energy is not reaching back to the sun. Now, let us solve a problem. If the trapped energy by the plants is 1 lakh kilocalorie, what will be the amount of energy passed to the tertiary consumer by the secondary consumer? So, here the tricky question is, they are not asking about third trophic level to the, from the second trophic level to the third trophic level. Here they are saying that there is tertiary consumer, from the tertiary consumer, okay, sorry, to the tertiary consumer from the secondary consumer. Secondary consumer comes in which trophic level? Just now we have studied that the first trophic level are always plants, okay, it is better to say it as photosynthetic organism. The second trophic level are the primary consumers. So, here comes the primary consumers. The third trophic level are the secondary consumer, and the fourth trophic level are the tertiary consumers. So, here they are asking from this level to this level, what will be the energy transform. So, we know that the energy trapped by plant is 1 lakh kilocalorie, okay. So, 1 lakh kilocalorie is trapped by the plants. So, how much amount of energy the primary consumer will get? The primary consumer will get only 10%, and this 10% is by 10% rule, okay. That energy transfer always take place by 10% rule, okay. Only 10% get transferred from one trophic level to another, but the plants take only 1% of the total solar energy available. Now, see here. So, 1 lakh, only 10% is being transferred to primary consumer, that will be 10,000, okay, 10,000 kilocalorie, and then to the secondary consumer they will get only 1000 kilocalorie, and the question is passed to the tertiary consumer by the secondary consumer. So, how much energy the tertiary consumer will get from the secondary consumer? It will be only 100 kilocalorie, okay. So, the answer will be 100 kilocalorie will be passed to the tertiary consumer. I hope it is clear. So, now let us move on to the next topic. Now, we have studied that energy flow is unidirectional, right. Through food chain, when the energy flow, the amount of energy gets reduced drastically, we have seen. Now, through food chain, two other things also take place. One is bioaccumulation and the other one is biomagnification. Now, what is the difference between bioaccumulation and biomagnification? You can see in this picture, it will be very clear what is the difference between bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Now, bioaccumulation means if I keep on consuming one particular food, what happens if there is some toxin present in that particular food, it keep on accumulating in my body, and over the time period this harmful chemical substance will, the amount of harmful chemical substance will increase drastically, okay. So, that is known as bioaccumulation. So, bioaccumulation means is the accumulation of pollutant in an organism over the period of time, okay. Accumulation of pollutant in an organism over the period of time. Now, we know that our ecosystems are having so many different kinds of pollutant, and the organism that live in that are every time exposed to these pollutants. So, these pollutants get accumulated in their body. So, bioaccumulation is the accumulation of pollutant in an organism over the period of time. Now, biomagnification, you can see here, it is the food chain, okay. From one organism the pollutants are going to the other organism and then to the third level, fourth level. So the pollutant is getting magnified, okay, in each level. So biomagnification is the increase in the concentration of pollutant in the food chain, okay. So that is the difference between bioaccumulation and biomagnification. I hope it is clear what is bioaccumulation and what is biomagnification. Now we will move on to the next topics, that is environmental problems. Now, what are the environmental problems we are facing today? What are the different environmental problems? We know that we are going through global warming, we are going through ozone depletion, there are a lot of other things, okay. We are facing climate change. As you can see in Kerala this year we receive very scanty rain, right? That is because of the climate change that is occurring overall, okay. So there are a lot of environmental problems here. Here we are going to deal with two such kind of environment problem. One is ozone depletion and the other one is waste management, okay. So first let us start with ozone, and we will just study what is ozone and what is ozone layer. What is ozone? You all have heard the term ozone, right? You have heard it from lower grades that what is ozone depletion and all. So what is ozone? Your chemistry experts might have told what is ozones, right? So ozone is a triatomic oxygen molecule. It's an oxygen molecule, okay. It's a triatomic oxygen molecule. Usually when we say a normal oxygen molecule, we refer it to as diatomic oxygen, okay. That is the oxygen molecule we usually talk about. So here ozone is a triatomic oxygen molecule. Now here you can see ozone is not like oxygen, okay. You cannot breathe it because it is deadly poisonous. It's very poisonous. You cannot breathe it, and thankfully it is not present in our immediate atmosphere, okay. We know that atmosphere has different layers. There's troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere and all. So where we live, our immediate atmosphere is the troposphere. So ozone is not present in our troposphere, it is present in the second layer, that is stratosphere. So we are very lucky in that case, okay. So it's deadly poison. Ozone is deadly poisonous. Now what is the function of ozone? The function of ozone is to trap the harmful radiations that are coming from the sun, okay. The harmful radiation that is coming from the sun is mostly ultraviolet radiation. So these ultraviolet radiations are trapped by the ozone present in the ozone layer. This ozone layer is present in the second atmospheric layer, that is stratosphere. It is present in the stratosphere, okay. So this ozone layer is very important because it helps to trap the harmful ultraviolet rays. So if this ultraviolet rays falls on the earth's surface or on human's body, it can cause skin cancer, okay, many other problems in plants as well as animals. So this ultraviolet rays has to be prevented coming inside the earth's atmosphere. So that function is done by ozone. So how is ozone formed? We know that ozone traps ultraviolet radiation, but ultraviolet radiation plays a very important role in the formation of ozone. So let us see how is ozone formed. So ozone, you can see here, you can see when the sun rays comes to the earth, UV rays also comes to the earth. So when it reaches the stratosphere, there is high concentration of oxygen molecule there, okay. There is high concentration of oxygen molecule there. What this UV radiation does is, it splits the oxygen molecule into monoatomic oxygen. You can see here, it splits the oxygen molecule into monoatomic oxygen. Now this monoatomic oxygen is very unstable, okay. It goes and binds with the diatomic oxygen, forming a ozone molecule, okay. So this is how ozone is formed in the stratosphere. So UV radiation helps in the formation of ozone. So ozone is formed by the action of UV radiation on diatomic oxygen. What happens? UV radiation splits this diatomic oxygen molecule into free oxygen atoms. They split the oxygen molecule into free oxygen atoms, and this free oxygen atoms combine with the oxygen molecule to form a ozone. Okay. So, is it clear? Now, how is this ozone depletion taking place? We have understood how is ozone formed. It is formed by the UV radiation. But how is the depletion taking place? The detailed depletion you will be studying in higher grades. If you go to 11th grade and 12th grade in chemistry as well as in biology, you will be studying the detail how depletion of the chemistry of how depletion takes place. But here we will just see how the depletion happens, okay, in a very short way. So, here what happens is the CFC that is produced in the ground, okay, the CFC that is produced in the earth's surface which we use for our air conditioners, refrigerators, this CFC reaches the higher atmosphere, and there the chlorine molecules breaks the ozone, okay, it splits the ozone into oxygen molecule and free oxygen atom. So, this is what the CFC does. Hence, CFC is very harmful for our ozone layer. Okay, so during 1980s, lot of CFCs used to be emitted from the industries. Hence, in 1987, it was decided by the United Nations Environment Program that the CFC's production has to be banned. Okay, this was decided to reduce the ozone that were getting depleted. So, this was about the ozone layer. Now, let us move on to the waste management. We know that tons of waste is being produced every day, right? If you just look today morning or today evening, until from morning to evening, how much waste you have produced by your own. You have took bath, okay? You have consumed food, so everything produce waste. Water, the wastewater is also a waste. The food we are consuming, the vegetable peels, the fruit peels, these are all waste. Okay, the paper we are using to write something, it's also creating waste. So, there if we are eating a chips or anything or a packet food, we are creating waste. So, there are a lot of waste we are creating every day in our life. So, where do this waste go? Where does this waste go? Any idea? So, the waste whatever we are creating can be easily categorized into two groups. One is biodegradable waste and the other one is non-biodegradable waste. So, what is biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste? Biodegradable waste are those waste that are produced from organic matter and that can be easily decomposed by the decomposers present in the soil. Okay, so those waste are biodegradable waste. Then we have non-biodegradable waste. Non-biodegradable waste are waste that are made up of all inorganic materials and they are very difficult to decompose or to dispose. Okay. So, these waste are non-biodegradable waste. Now, you can see this waste, you can see in this previous slide, we can categorize this waste into different categories. Okay. And if we try to categorize waste into different category, we will be able to easily recycle it in all means whatever possible ways we will be able to recycle it. Okay. So, what will be our role is we have to reduce the usage of non-biodegradable waste. That should be our main aim, okay, to reduce the non-biodegradable waste. Hence, we can keep our environment clean together. Okay. Now, let us solve some question. Although gardens are created by man, but they are considered to be an ecosystem. So, this thing I did not say that there are two different types of ecosystem. There are natural ecosystem and artificial ecosystem. Natural ecosystems are like forest, we have seen in the first picture, pond, these are all natural ecosystems. Whereas gardens, aquarium and all are artificial ecosystem. So, natural ecosystem and artificial ecosystem. So, natural ecosystem it's already there by nature, artificial ecosystem is created by man. So, here the question is Gardens are created by man, then too we call it as an ecosystem. Why? I have already said what is an ecosystem, right? It's an area where living organisms interact with each other and with their environment. So, garden is similar to that. Garden is an area where living organisms such as birds, plants, insects, everyone interact with each other and with the environment, with soil, water, air. Okay? So, even though it is created by man, it has all the biotic component and abiotic component in them. Now, next you can see here, write one difference between biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. Biodegradable waste are waste that can be easily decomposed by the decomposers present in the soil, okay? And non-biodegradable waste are waste that cannot be decomposed by the organisms and they will be lying as such for years and years, okay? Now, list 2 impacts of each type of waste accumulated. List 2 impacts. If they get accumulated, whether it be biodegradable or non-biodegradable, it causes many problems. So, biodegradable waste, if it gets accumulated, you know, it causes smell, foul smell, and then it also becomes a house for many different flies or insects or other organisms. Similarly, if non-biodegradable waste get accumulated, we have seen how biomagnification, bioaccumulation takes place, as well as if they are on the lying on the surface, it reduces the fertility of the soil, it causes many other problems. Now, coming to the next question, what is ozone? We have studied ozone is a triatomic molecule, okay, it is deadly poisonous. How it is formed in the upper layers of the Earth's atmosphere? How it is formed? It is formed by the action of UV radiations, okay. UV radiation splits the oxygen molecules into free oxygen atoms. Oxygen molecules combine with these free oxygen atom to form ozone, okay. How does ozone affect our ecosystem? Ozone helps to trap the UV radiation, the harmful UV radiation that is coming from the sun is trapped by the ozone. Now, let's list 2 human made ecosystem. Human made ecosystem already mentioned, garden, aquarium, crop field, these are the human made ecosystem. We do not clean a pond in the same manner as we do in an aquarium. Give reason to justify this statement. We know that we do not clean pond. Why? Because pond has their own decomposers. Decomposers are the one that cleans the ecosystem, okay. So, they have their own decomposers, but an aquarium, in an aquarium what do we keep? We keep fishes, we keep some plants, we do not add decomposers in them, right. So, the waste that is being generated in an aquarium has to be cleaned because there is no decomposers there to self clean the ecosystem. So, this was about the chapter our environment. Now, to get the detailed notes about the chapter, to get detailed videos, live classes, previous year questions, everything you can subscribe to Manorama Horizon. Thank you. Let's again meet for our next class.
Manorama Horizon. Learning made simple.